Hey, good afternoon, Utopian Baseball Universe. It's Joey and Tim here for a special, just a short little tribute to one of our favorites, Keith Hernandez.
Yeah.
He's getting his number retired today at Citi Field, number 17. Of course, he played for the Mets from, I want to say, 83 to
I think
90,
89 was his last
89.
year with the Mets. Yeah.
Okay. He was traded from the Cardinals to the Mets. He did not want to be traded. But he re-upped. He stayed here, played 7 years. I think he played in Cleveland in '90,
Yep.
and he's been in the booth now for the Mets for what, 17 seasons, something like that.
It's been a long time, and I think that has helped amplify his greatness. Having someone like Gary and Ron, not talking him up, but always giving off his showing off his skills.
The funny thing is, like, and we'll get to it into his career and everything, but like, I've always said I thought he was a Hall of Fame player. I think
Oh yeah.
he's even a better broadcaster than he was a player. I mean,
Yeah.
that booth for me is the best booth in baseball by far.
Yep.
But Tim and I, we're here today basically to just kind of share our favorite memories. And Tim actually has shared a great one with us in the past. But Tim, do you want to talk about the time he kind of referenced you on the air?
Well, yeah, it was 2006. I think it might have been the first year of SNY, and it was opening day, and I had a tradition with my cousin Dan. We would go. We went to like 4 or 5 opening days in a row, but then he was stationed in Afghanistan, so he couldn't go. So my wife and my other cousin, his sister, went. The three of us went on opening day, and I was feeling lousy. Like, you get one of those like springtime colds coming through, and I remember, sitting on the end of the seat. I had an aisle seat, and all of a sudden it was, late in the game, 7th or 8th inning, and Delgado came up to bat, and he, we were in the, like, not the upper deck of Shea, the third deck of Shea Stadium, and Delgado with this long foul ball, and I'm like, this 4 or 5 rows in front of me, and the ball was coming towards us, and they went to jump, and like it jumped through it went like through someone else's hands, and it hit this pavement step, and it was the easiest hop ever. Like the ball just bounced into my hand, just like if you were throwing the ball off the wall. I catch the ball, I raise my hand up in the air, the place is cheering, and then all of a sudden, this is 2006, so there were no smartphones. Also, my brother Andy called me on my Nokia, whatever kind of phone I had. He's like, "Dude, Keith Hernandez just said, like, this, you were just on TV, and Keith Hernandez called you a fan with good hands." So, I'm like, that's awesome. And then I went home, and SNY replayed the game that night, and I still had a VCR hooked up to my cable, so I have it on VHS, and I was able to get like a grainy. I filmed it on my phone, but sure enough, like, they don't show how easy the ball comes to me. They just show me holding the ball up in the air, and then they pan to me after the replay. And Gary Cohen says, I'm like, fans don't usually get a souvenir in that section. And because it wasn't the upper deck, it was like that blue, like, in between. And sure as day, they zoom in on me, and it's my wife and my cousin, like, laughing and pointing at me holding the ball. And Hernandez goes, well, there's a fan with some good hands. So it was, that's my I have the video, and I'll post it to the UBU later. And and then when I went to school the next day, I told my students that they're all big Seinfeld fans, and so they kept calling me for the rest of the year. This was April, so within the last 3 months, 4 months of the school year, my students called me Pretty Boy. Nice catch, Pretty Boy. Like, so. That's my Keith Hernandez story.
I've seen the clip several times. You can tell it's clear as day that it's Tim, and so Tim's going to share that later.
And one thing, my cousin was at the game for years, had like a shirt from the 80s, with the ring, this is like a different color fabric. I forget what they're called. And her shirt that she had on, it said "I heart Keith Hernandez." So I think she wears it with pride every time we bring that story up.
Nice. We mentioned earlier that Keith Hernandez was a Met for 7 seasons, 83 through 89. What are some of your favorite memories of him as a player for the Mets those years?
I mean, I remember like collecting Topps baseball cards and seeing like he was an all-star first baseman, so his all-star card came up and they had like league leader stats on the back of it and, game-winning RBIs, whatever. They didn't count that as a stat for very long, but whatever years they did, he was always either the leader or the top 5. So it was like, there was never like, I remember obviously we watched game 6 of 86, a couple months ago. Like he made that first out of that last inning. Like I was shocked watching that game live that he made it out. Like he never seemed to make the wrong play. That's what I remember most. And our memories have been, especially this last week on SNY, they've been showing, there's a great documentary. I hope it's on YouTube that you get to see it. I don't know if you get regular SNY footage and stuff, but it's called He's Keith Hernandez. And they show so many great plays. Like there was a play in that game that was famous for the Ray Knight, Eric Davis fight.
Yeah.
Late in extra innings, Gary Carter's playing third base. Hernandez is playing first. And there was a bunt. And I'm sure you've seen the play. Whoever on the Reds was squaring up to bunt. Hernandez, he caught the ball in between home plate and the pitcher's mound. That's how far, it was a ball going directly to the pitcher. But because of his lefty, he picked it up and clearly threw it to third, and then they threw to first for double play. And I think it ended the game. So it's like his, he always had those fist pump things. So it wasn't like particular at bats, but he always came up big when the team needed it.
Yeah. Right.
That's why I was shocked in game 6 in the 10th inning. He flew out to lead off the 10th, and he went and had a beer in the coach and goes, I can't leave Davies' chair. There's hits in this chair.
It's one of my favorite stories, that game 6, where he basically was just in the locker room. He cracks open a beer.
Yeah.
And I don't know if this is true or not. I think they talked about this during the ESPN documentary. Kevin Mitchell was calling San Diego or something.
Yeah, making flight plans. Yeah.
Making flight plans. But, my favorite memories as a player. Now, the funny thing is, I live in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
So Keith Hernandez was on the Cardinals that beat the Brewers in 82 in the series. Yep. But I wasn't watching Mets games until May of 84.
Yep.
So my memory of Keith Hernandez is as a Met, and then having to look back and go, oh, he was a Cardinal too. That's weird.
Yeah.
So Keith Hernandez and Gary Carter, and I hate to admit it now, but Lenny Dykstra, those are my 3 favorites for a while. And then I loved Good and I loved Strawberry. Yeah. But Keith has always been my number 1 favorite from that team. And the thing that I love most about him, and I've watched the 86 series at least 20 times, probably, and I've watched game 6 and 7 probably 50 times. Keith Hernandez, more than any other player I've ever seen, and you can throw in some catchers, just looked like a field manager on the diamond.
Yeah.
I mean, you watch game 6, the Houston game. I think that's the one I'm thinking of, where isn't that the game where he approaches Jesse Orosco?
It tells him, don't throw any more sliders or
And it's how many players have that acumen where they can they know 3-4 steps in advance, what the game situation calls for.
Yeah.
It just I know he's his lifetime batting average is 296, but that's probably one of my first picks. If I'm building a team, I can get my power from left and right field. And of course, you're going to try to build with defense up the middle. I want Keith Hernandez on my team.
How many errors does he save just by making it for him his routine?
Yeah. I mean, 11 Gold Gloves. We're gonna post at about 1:30 today Central. His best highlights as a Met. Most of them are defensive.
Yeah, yeah.
There's some clutch hits. Obviously, they'll show Game 7, but just unreal. But we had mentioned earlier he's been in that booth now for the better part of 16, 17 years.
I think he started out when way before SNY, like the Fox Sports New York, he was doing it, and I think he was in the booth for maybe a year or two with Seaver. Seaver would do some games, and like he was kind of moving back towards his wine. He was more drawn to the wine, but he did a few games, and I have to look this up, but he did a few games with could you imagine his booth, Seaver and Keith in the same, just hang out, Keith and Ron are,
Yeah.
But you have one of the greatest pitchers of all time. No disrespect to Ron Darling, but the greatest pitchers of all time, and one of the greatest, like you said, field managers,
Sure.
Game managers of all time.
I would love to, because I was, to be honest, I wasn't even aware of that. I'll have to go and see if I can find some footage of that, because that would be amazing to watch and listen to.
Yeah.
What are some of your favorite memories of him in the booth? I love, and it's not one of his better memories, but like when he fell asleep.
Oh yeah.
It was like, and what were the circumstances? It was like
it was a blowout.
Blowout.
I love how he calls it. He hates bad baseball, whether it's the Mets or who the Mets are playing. And like I didn't see any of the game the other night, but it was 10-0 Mets win. And he hasn't been in the booth, but if he was in the booth, he'd probably I love just how we always said fundies all the time.
Fundies.
Like, good fundies.
Word.
Yeah, good fundies. And there is one game, and Keith is Keith. He's Keith Hernandez. He dated Elaine Bennis, so he's got away with the ladies. There was a game, and you can find it on YouTube, and Gary, they were in Arizona, and Gary was talking about the price of a hot dog at the Chase, I guess it's Chase Field in Arizona. And they showed us like $20 for a hot dog, $18 for a hot dog, whatever it was. But there was all the fixings, everything was on it. And the camera zoomed in on a very gorgeous woman.
Yeah, I've seen this.
Popping out of her very tight dress. And in the middle of it, Keith just goes, like, Gary's talking about the price of a hot dog. And then she's eating the hot dog. And he goes, "Oh, my Lord." He's like, "Yeah, that's pretty expensive for a hot dog." And Keith goes, "I wasn't talking about the price of the hot dog."
I wasn't talking about the hot dog. Yeah, that's one of my favorite clips. I think that's part of the highlights that I'm posting later.
Oh, awesome.
There's one of them is going to be his playing career, and then one of them is going to be in the booth.
Yeah.
It's just, as far as just a personality, like, again, if you combine, I know it's called the Baseball Hall of Fame. It's not the Playing Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
He is, like, I know, like, sometimes we talk about wrestling, how Ric Flair is a 2-time Hall of Famer in the WWE Hall of Fame. Keith Hernandez is a Hall of Fame player and a Hall of Fame analyst.
Yeah, exactly. And what's great about it is, he's not like some of the other, Hawk Harrelson is a complete homer for the White Sox, and he drives, fingernails on the wall. John Sterling for the Yankees on the radio. Like, when the Mets are, and it's the whole booth, and I think they just feed off each other. When the Mets are playing bad, they call it right down the middle. Like, there's no sugarcoating anything, and it's he's just a joy. Like, even, there was a game earlier this year. He's goofy too. They were talking about his cat, and his cat's on the Twitter and everything.
Haji.
But like, he fell for like an internet scam. So he's lovable. He's getting to the point where he's lovable, like Phil Rizzuto was, and Mets fans. But like, my mom, who I'm in my mom's house right now, she doesn't like him, and my mom's a Yankee fan, but she doesn't like him. Like, it's a Met fan thing, maybe, to really love him. I don't know. But they call it fair one way or the other. Like, you could be a Braves fan, you could be, a Marlins fan, watching the game, and he gives credit. Like he loves. There are certain players he loves, and even though Eduardo Escobar is not playing very well, he loves Escobar's game. Like, he's always, like, the minute he has a couple hits and, a nice play in the field. He's like, he starts spewing the virtues of Eduardo Escobar. And he starts with defense too, because that's how Keith was. So
I want to really briefly explain why I'm wearing a Braves cap. Like, this is just insane. Why would I be wearing a Braves cap during this? I made a bet with a member of this universe, Lee Jeffcoat, about it was the Braves had like 12 games against winning teams. They said they're going to win 5 or less. They won 9. So I said I'd wear a Braves cap for July. So that's why I'm wearing the cap. But I do have the jersey. I bought this probably 15 years ago.
Oh, it's that racing stripe, man.
Exactly. I want to, at some point, I want to frame this because I like wearing it, but it's not a very comfortable jersey because it's not like the button down.
Yeah.
But this is one of my prized possessions. I do want to share. I've had the privilege of meeting Keith Hernandez twice. Now, the first time we didn't say really, he didn't say anything to me, and I'll share how this happened. By the way, and Tim just finished this. This is Two Loves.
Oh, excellent book.
I wrote this.
I loved it. It's a diary of a year that broke my heart, but it was great. And I feel like I know all your friends now.
So we'll have a FAQ at some point later in the season. But I wrote this in 2008. This was not intended to be a book. This was intended to be a diary, basically a time capsule that my daughter and I would open together at some point. And then I had an editor look at it, and he said, put it out as a book. A year after this came out, so I wrote it in 2008. It came out in March of 2009. And in 2010, the Mets were at Miller Park. And it was an afternoon game. And I saw Keith Hernandez in the booth. And I said to the usher, I said, is it okay if I run this and just give it to him? I won't even talk to him. He's like, he really does not like to be bothered. It's known league wine. He not to the extent of like Bob Uecker where he just shuts out the world. But he said, he really, especially on the road, he doesn't really like to be bothered. I said, I won't even say a word to him. I said, I'll toss it up to him. He said, well, don't tell him it was me. And I walked up to him. Now, I've learned actually since then that he does not like to be referred to as Mex. I did not know that.
No, yeah.
He hates that because he's Spanish. He's Spanish-Irish, I think.
I think so, yeah.
And so anyway, I walked up to him. I saw it clear as day. I saw him, and I said, hey, Mex. And he looks down, and I showed it to him, and I just lightly tossed it up to him. It wasn't a big throw. It was like, 15 feet. Yeah. This is exactly what he does, Tim. He catches it. Of course, he makes the play.
Yeah.
He does this, and I'll never forget this. He goes, oh. He just does like one of these. Like he acknowledges.
Yeah.
Like, okay, thank you, but not thank you. He puts his hand up and he walks away. 4 years later, I had the extreme privilege. A friend of mine named James Tristan Redding, a fantastic musician, one of my best friends in the world. He was friends with Josh Lewin.
Yeah.
They would play together in New York, piano bars and stuff like that.
Yeah.
He introduces me to Josh Lewin. Josh Lewin reaches out to me and gives me press passes for a game at Miller.
Wow.
I got to meet Gary Cohen.
Ooh.
Ron Darling wasn't there that day. I got to meet Gary Cohen. I believe I got to meet
was it Burkhart, the sideline reporter?
I want to say it was the kid who's now doing the Fox football.
Kevin Burkhart.
Yeah, it was. I think it was him. I got to meet Bill Schroeder from the Brewers and Brian Anderson.
Wow. Did you meet Uecker too?
No.
Oh.
Bob Uecker's off limits. And actually, I'll tell that story another time. But Josh Lewin says, "Look, I've read your book. I know you want to meet Keith. He's right in here." So he walks me in. I am so nervous. Do you remember when I interviewed Peter Galenbach? How I looked like I was. I walk in there, and I didn't plan anything. I just said, "Oh, hey." I said, we've met. I said, I tossed you a copy of, and I had a copy of it.
Yeah.
I tossed you a copy of this a couple years ago. He goes, yeah, thank you. He didn't say like I read it or whatever, but he said he did kind of one of these. And I got to talk to him for like 10 minutes.
Oh, that is awesome.
He didn't rush me out. He didn't look bored. He shared a couple stories that he thought maybe a Brewers fan might enjoy.
Yeah.
And then I said, I got to ask you. And he actually like cuts me off. He goes, I know what you're going to ask. And he did. He actually, it's amazing. Like his again, I come back to the word acumen. Like he knew what I was going to say. He grew up with Bob McClure.
Really? I think I knew that. Yeah, Expos pitcher.
Yes. Well, he was a Brewer too.
Yeah.
And they grew up together. I don't know if they were best friends or whatever, but they played Little League. And I guess in Little League or high school, Bob McClure like volunteered information to Keith Hernandez on how he would pitch him if they both made the major leagues.
Oh.
And in Game 7 of the 1982 World Series, in the 6th inning, Bob McClure on the mound, Keith Hernandez at the plate, 2-run single.
Yeah.
I said, I started to ask the question. He goes, yeah, I knew what was coming. Because we had that conversation.
Yeah.
I kept it in my back pocket. I had that conversation with many pitchers over the years.
Yeah.
But McClure was one of maybe 2 that made the big leagues. And I knew how he was going to pitch me. And after he told me that story, I'm watching the at-bat, and you can almost see.
That's awesome.
Like he can see the game playing out in his head. That's one of my favorite things. I left there. I was like, I just cannot believe this is happening. Like Keith Hernandez gave me 10 minutes of his time. And he, like I said, he did not, like you can read someone's eyes. Like, is he trying to rush me out of here? Is he looking to get me out of here?
Yeah.
I have the impression that if there was not a game to call in 90 minutes, he would have sat down with me for 90 minutes.
Oh, that is awesome. That is awesome.
It's just an amazing memory. And like today means so much to me. Like MLB.TV, this year they started airing the pregame and postgame shows.
Oh, good.
So this should be airing live. So
yeah, they're going to do the retirement ceremony during the Mets pregame on SNY. Yeah.
And it's at 2:00 my time, 3:00 your time.
Yep.
So if anyone else is out there and just wants to see this, it's
I want to add one thing on what that was a great story about Bob McClure. I don't know, you might have seen it in one of the documentaries, but Kevin Mitchell and Calvin Schiraldi were roommates in the minor leagues, and they had conversation about how they would get each other out, and they faced each other in Game 6 of the World Series. It's crazy stuff.
And if you watch that at bat too, it kind of looks like Mitchell is anticipating that pitch. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love stories like that.
Oh, that's awesome.
Throughout the day, I think, I don't know the exact times. I want to say 1:30, late afternoon, a couple this evening. We're going to post Keith Hernandez stuff all day. We're going to culminate.
Can I post my video of the Hands with Good Hands? All right.
Tim, you and there's probably 30 people in this group. You guys never have to ask permission to post anything. Right. I did, by the way, just real quick. This has nothing to do with Keith Hernandez. Did you notice this a couple days ago? A Yankees fan was brought into the group.
Into the UBU?
This group. Yeah. She requested. She answered the questions.
Yeah.
And then within, I'm not even kidding, 5 minutes, she was posting spam into the group.
I didn't notice it.
But not as posts, as comments.
Oh yeah.
So like I think someone had a question about maybe it was Jonathan Lee, Baseball Harmony, like who would you choose here? And all of her comments were YouTube spam.
I think I
immediately blocked her because like if you try to post to the group, I have to approve it.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you're, a Tim St. Clair,
look at that. Yeah.
I'm just saying you guys post legitimate stuff. Had she tried to do it that way, it would not have gone through, but she was posting it as comments.
Yeah.
So I just had to get rid of her because obviously there's a motive there to cause harm. And we don't need any of that. But look for the Keith Hernandez content throughout the day. We're going to culminate it tonight at 11 Central, so a little bit later, but it is the weekend. We're going to do Mets Rangers tonight.
Oh, they need a win, man. They need a win.
They need a lot. So anyway, it's Tom Seaver versus Yu Darvish.
Yep.
And the reason this is special to me, and this was not planned, this is just the way the schedule bounces. The day Tom Seaver passed away in 2020.
Yeah.
The next day, he was scheduled to pitch for the Mets and it was right around Labor Day.
Yeah.
So we had like a triple header or something, and it was Mets Rangers, and it was Seaver Darvish.
There we go.
And there's video of it that I might even post this later in the week or whatever. Tom Seaver homers in that game, and my voice cracks.
Oh, that's all you can't make it up.
I'm like, Tom Seaver.
There you go.
Like, in the universe, he's pitching. He's not. He hasn't passed away. He's pitching.
Yeah, of course.
Playing. So for on a day we were kind of honoring his memory here, he hits a home run, and like I'm looking at stats, I'm like, there's only been like 8 homers all year from pitchers. Yeah. Seaver hits one on the day we commemorate.
There you go.
Getting a rematch tonight in the same ballpark, same pitching matchup. Seaver, Darvish tonight. Keith Hernandez batting third, playing first.
Hopefully he gets a game-winning RBI because that's what he's used to doing.
Still the all-time leader in that statistic.
Yeah.
Yes, the Mets do need they need something.
Yeah.
They need something. They're struggling this year. There's only one team worse right now in the universe, and it's the Nationals.
Yeah.
So if anything, it's like, hey, we're 7.
Hey.
All right. Well, Tim, I want to thank you for sharing some great memories. Well, hope to get, I've been advertising John here. John couldn't join us right now. So John, if you're watching or if you're watching this later, share your memories. We hope to get a video from David Rubin later. Liz posted her video earlier today. That was great. Great story. If anyone else wants to share stories or memories of Keith Hernandez, please do so. Tim, thanks again.
Thank you, Joey. I'm always welcome for a conversation. You know that. Always. And I just thought about this. You had a catch with Keith Hernandez. It was your book, but you had a catch with him.
We had a catch. And Tim and I are going to have a catch at some point again. Tim, I, and Andrew, we're going to do this once a year. We're going to watch Bad News Bears in Breaking Training later in the year, like we did for Long Gone. So thanks again, Tim. Everyone have a great day.
Thank
Matt
you.
Farland's coming up at 3 Central. The retirement ceremony for number 17. This number 17 coming up in 90 minutes on MLB.TV or SNY.
Yeah. Can't wait.
Can't wait. So everyone have a good one, and we'll see you later.
All right. Take care, Joey.
See you, Tim.